Well, he had some front there, didn't he? A low tax economy after they've just put taxes up and they can't guarantee they won't put them up again before the next general election. Well, maybe I'm being too sceptical, too cynical about the economic state we're in. Let's find out. I'm joined now by our economics editor, Liam Halligan. Liam, good evening. I know you've been up in Manchester watching much of this over the last few days. I mean, if you listen to the Prime Minister, the economy is in just the most fantastic shape. Wages rising, productivity rising. I mean, it was almost, we've never had it so good. What say you?
Yeah, almost Macmillan. It reminded me a little bit more of Heath, actually. I'm like you, Nigel. I think I'm generally an optimistic person. I'm generally a big believer in the entrepreneurial vim and vigour of this country. But the reality is, if you look at the official GDP numbers, the economy has stalled, and the economy has stalled because of supply chain issues, which aren't just about what's happening in the UK, they're about what's happening across the world. But because the economy has stalled, we have got a lot of inflation. I think that this was a speech full of jokes, full of theatrics, full of a feel-good factor for the party faithful, luxuriating in the fact that despite the pandemic, the Tories are largely ahead in the polls. But I think outside, not just at those down-at-heel towns and in provincial cities that have been in that phrase often used by the Prime Minister, left behind, but I think across the country as a whole, there's a lot of apprehension about our economic future. There's a lot of apprehension about the winter of discontent we face with rising energy costs, with skills shortages, with trade union unrest, not so much blue-collar trade unions, more the white-collar trade unions, the public sector trade unions. And I think Boris's tone during the speech was pretty remote from how most people in the country are feeling. He barely mentioned the fact that we're out of the pandemic. He barely mentioned the fact that he, as a Conservative, has had to impose so many controls and removals of freedom. I think he should have said something about that. But I felt economically he was out of touch, as if he doesn't really understand the sort of moment of economic peril which we face.
Well, Liam, that begs a question. You know, we know he's good at classics and he's a very, very good writer, and he can be a very entertaining speaker, and we know all of those abilities and talents that he's got. There's no question about any of that. Does he understand economics?
Well, I worry that he hasn't really got anyone around him in his inner circle who really does get economics or is even interested in the economy. Of course, Rishi Sunak is very influential, and I thought Sunak's speech was largely about laying out who Rishi Sunak is as a person. It's the first speech he's ever given as Chancellor to Conservative conference. But Rishi Sunak's speech was a bit more forward-looking. The payoff of the Sunak speech was finally, we can turn a corner now and look to the future. But I thought the Johnson speech didn't really address any of the concerns within the economy. It didn't address the fuel crisis at all. It's as if all the Conservatives there were oblivious to that. It didn't address the fact, Nigel, that on the day he gave the speech, oil went above $80 a barrel, and the money markets now are looking at not 4% inflation, not 5% inflation, 6% inflation in the UK. That's what the weight of money in the markets is suggesting. People who predict these things for a living and put their money where their mouth is. I think this autumn, but certainly by the end of the winter and into the spring, we are facing interest rate rises. Sterling is slipping, which means imports are becoming more expensive. That produces inflation in and of itself. And, you know, it is the economy, stupid, as Bill Clinton's economic advisor, James Carville, said all those years ago. When the economy turns, political fortunes can turn, and prime ministers who tell lots of jokes can start looking really, really out of touch. And none of this gives me any pleasure. I want to be upbeat about the economy. I spend a lot of my life analysing the British economy. There are many good things going on, but there are some serious warning signs. And the public's picking that up, and he should have reflected that.
And Liam, if we have inflation and we have little growth, that's something it's a word that's not been used, I don't think, for 35, 40 years, but it's called stagflation, isn't it?
Well, some of us have been using it for 6 months or so, Nigel.
You're so far ahead of the pack, Liam. You're so far ahead of the pack. You're the first one, in fact, to have predicted a winter of discontent. But just in 30 seconds, tell the audience what stagflation actually is.
So stagflation is the combination of economic slowdown or stagnation, so that's very low growth or even economic contraction, and inflation. Ordinarily, you have inflation when the economy is going gangbusters, when the economy is running hot. Sometimes you can have inflation when the economy is also very, very underwhelming and underperforming. We had it in the early 70s. We had it in the early 80s. It absolutely convulses politics. It means all normal politics is off the table, and that could well happen in the coming months.
Liam, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, that was Liam Halligan.